Lisa Collins, publisher of LA Focus newspaper, and I am excited to be able to invite you into an interview that I'm doing with OMAROSA.
Hey Lisa, how are you?
I'm fine. A lot has happened since you left the White House. How have you been and what are you up to?
I left the White House 2 years ago, believe it or not. Time has flown. I wrote a book called Unhinged, and I'm very proud of the project. It made #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, but it was an interesting project for me because not only does it talk about my very interesting year in the White House, my second time serving a US president. The first time, of course, I worked for Bill Clinton and Vice President Al Gore. But I also detail this 17-year relationship that I had when I met Donald Trump in 2003 in The Apprentice. But I also give the readers an opportunity to go inside of the White House in a way that they never had a chance to. I take them into the Oval Office. I take them on Air Force One, what it's like to be in the cabinet meetings, that sort of thing.
I enjoyed that part of it, that you felt like you were there, particularly in some of the heightened moments, like when you were in the room with John Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
That was a moment that, I mean, that was part of the book that I really drew me in to what you actually experienced on that day, and probably a lot of what was going on behind the scenes, particularly the low morale and the reason for it. I am sure that these days you're happy to be on the sidelines watching and not in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's great not to be in the White House, particularly watching what's going on. I mean, when I watched that, what they're calling the Rose Garden massacre, with all those people gathered together with no mask on, and then the White House saying that staffers shouldn't wear masks. I mean, it was just terrifying. But also to see some of the career staffers who I have known for 20 years, to see them get sick with COVID and, battle with the balance of serving your country and then being asked to do something that's just not safe. It's really difficult to watch kind of what's unfolding there.
What do you think of the president's handling of COVID-19 crisis?
I think it's a travesty what he's done, particularly in the face of the fact that he had so much information and that the Obama-Biden team had left a playbook that had this president followed, then 200,000 people may not be dead today. And so his handling was abysmal. And I know that there are families who may be watching this. And I just want to say that my heart and my prayers go out to those families who suffered needlessly because they were not properly advised. The extreme danger of this particular virus was not expressed to us, in spite of the fact that we heard the president say to Bob Woodward that he knew quite how dangerous and contagious this virus was.
He's also saying that there was no playbook. Is that not true?
It's not true. In fact, well, I have to be careful about some of the stuff that's in classified nature, but I can tell you that in our initial briefings, when you start transitioning from, the campaign to into the White House, and as the most senior African-American woman in that White House, I can tell you that that is categorically not true. And that information was provided to us at the highest levels that contradict exactly what the president is saying.
People are buying guns in record numbers, given the heightened anxiety surrounding this election. Are they overreacting, or will Trump go quietly if he loses?
Well, I have to be 100% transparent. I went during the pandemic and I got my Florida concealed carries license. I've always been a gun owner. Prior to getting married as a single woman living alone, I thought it was important to be able to protect myself. And so when you ask about guns, I'm a part of a gun club here. And the fact that African Americans make up such a large percentage of new gun owners, it lets you know that the concern about what's going to happen has impacted all of our lives. And there's so many people who want to make sure that they can protect their family. And so as I hear some of the reports of groups like the Proud Boys saying, things are going to happen, I think that they should be probably very cautious because there are a lot of African Americans who have decided to, join the ranks of being a gun owner and protecting themselves no matter what happens.
And do you think Trump will go quietly into the night should he lose?
Well, no, to answer your question, I don't, but there are some safeguards in place. so that he doesn't have a choice. And, I know that the people who are responsible for a very peaceful transition of government will make sure, regardless of what type of temper tangent he throws, that he does in fact go. We don't know where he'll go, but he'll be gone.
So, do you think that the president cares that he may be inciting violence with his flirting with white racists and militias?
This president has shown such a reckless disregard for the consequences of his words. I mean, we all know that words matter. And the fact that he still continues to say things that incite individuals. I think about the governor of Michigan and how he went after her. And as a result, there was a plot to kidnap her. And in fact, not just her, but the governor of Virginia as well. And it was directly a correlation to the incitement of Donald Trump's tweets and his statements at rallies. And I think it's unfortunate, but hopefully that we won't have to hear much of that anymore. We definitely need some way to move forward.
There have been so many books, including yours, that have painted a picture of who the president really is behind the scenes. Why do you think he still maintains the kind of popularity he does have?
Well, I think that his popularity really comes from his very shrinking base. His base is growing smaller because even the people who kind of found him appealing, the independent swing voters, have now abandoned Donald Trump. And so when you say popular, certainly among his base, but not enough for him to, I believe, win another 4 years. But Donald Trump has maintained what we call a cult of personality. I mean, I've unfortunately had to sit through a couple of those Trump rallies, and it's like nothing I've ever seen before. They hang off of every single word he says, even when he's blatantly telling them things that will harm them and their families. They cheer very loudly and they just adore him. And that's really what it means to be a part of a cult. And that's really what I assert in my book, Unhinged, about Donald Trump's cult of personality.
You and your friend Michael Cohen also asserts the same thing, that it's like being in a cult, especially since you describe, and so does he, and so have others, the president as an often unraged man who loses it. And it's striking to see that people don't pick up on the fact that he's actually losing it. To what do you attribute that?
Well, I know that Michael has described what we call the Trump nuclear kind of mode, where he goes into screaming and yelling and just in this rage. And in fact, I recently saw an interview with him in 60 Minutes and Leslie Stahl, where he demonstrated that same type of temperament. So things haven't changed. But when you talk about losing it from a mental standpoint, I mean, the swings, the extreme moods, from one moment he's happy to, he'll read a news story and it'll swing him all the way to the right, where he's yelling, screaming, insulting people, throwing things at the television. It's quite a show to watch. But unfortunately, being on the front row of it, or even being on the receiving end of it, is no fun. So it's sad that our country is led by someone who is so unhinged and who is just completely unreliable, unpredictable, and has failed at every one of his duties as commander-in-chief.
You have been the subject of some of those tweets. How did that feel?
I believe that the president has 80 million followers. And so when he sicks those followers onto you, it just kind of opens you up to so many types of attack. It puts you and your family in danger. And it's like nothing I can even describe to you, because going through that for the year and a half that I did, of him just relentlessly going after me and my family, it was terrible. And I see that he attacks so many other women of color. And in fact, he reserves his nastiest venom for accomplished, smart African-American women. And so I'm not alone in those attacks. There's enough of us now to start a support group, because he has gone after so many of us in ways that I think is beneath the office of the presidency.
Absolutely. All right. Well, good luck. It's great talking to you as always. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation with OMAROSA and that you will consider subscribing and keep watching us. Thank you.